Israel can assassinate, and they can assassinate effectively. But when they assassinate, they use Mossad agents. They don't use kids that dress up in bunny costumes and make out with their male roommate. That's not what they use as an assassin.
Hi guys, doing this is Sahar TV, and in today's video we'll watch a CIA agent talking on a podcast whether Israel's trying to control America, who is more powerful, Mossad or CIA, and if Mossad actually assassinated Charlie Kirk according to his knowledge and history. Let's watch.
Circular reporting is when one source gives a piece of intelligence, and then you hear the same intelligence from a separate source. And then you think to yourself, oh, I'm hearing it from two different sources. That must increase the reliability of it being real and being true. What we don't realize is that the second source learned the information from the first source. So really, it's the same information from the same source, but we're reporting it as two different sources.
It smells like Candace Owens, who keeps blaming Israel for Charlie Kirk's assassination, right?
That's why we call it circular. So when you have one influencer who basically posts a conspiracy theory, and then 5 other influencers just repeat the same conspiracy theory, to us, it feels like there's 5 people saying this.
Right.
It's only one. They're all just piling on to the same thing. They're all on the same gravy train. The last thing I want to say here on whether Israel would be involved in this, it doesn't make any sense when you look at geopolitics and the importance of blowback. Blowback is when you make a geopolitical error that has massive consequences. So we saw that there were ceasefires that fell apart and there was blowback. There were consequences internationally. Right. When Russia invaded Ukraine, there were sanctions. That was blowback. That was international. As much as Israel has taken the steps it has taken, as ostracized as it's been, as polarizing as it's been, it would not risk killing a conservative American influencer when their support base in the United States is conservative Americans. And the argument that people are making here is, oh, well, like 2 weeks beforehand, Charlie Kirk said he was going to split away from Judaism or supporting Israel. What do you think when Israel assessed that break with Charlie Kirk? Do you think that they thought to themselves, we need to publicly kill this man? Or do you think they said something more along the lines of, we need to work on the next 6 to 12 months finding a way to bring him back into the fold? Because he has decades worth of utility if we can make him a supporter again. But if we kill him, think about the risk of blowback. If they were to actually kill him, and if they were to be caught, or if they were to be formally implicated, that's going to destroy their relationship with the conservative base of the United States for decades. Israel can assassinate, and they can assassinate effectively. But when they assassinate, they use Mossad agents. They don't use kids that dress up in bunny costumes and make out with their male roommate. That's not what they use as an assassin.
Well, I always thought that was absurd. You know, why would I? First of all, my point, look, Charlie Kirk was an influential figure. But that influential, that you have to take him out, like he's going to destroy Israel if you don't, it made no sense to me.
Also, to me, what doesn't make sense is if Israel takes out every person that doesn't show support to Israel when they used to show support to Israel, why are they not killing Candace Owens? Why are they not killing Tucker Carlson? Why are they not killing all these people that used to be on Israel's wagon, and now they're not? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because it didn't happen. It's all one big conspiracy. There's no proof, no link, nothing.
But I think you nailed it in that, really. Let me ask you this. I have a friend, 2 things I want to say. Well, let me ask you this first. How does the CIA stack up against Mossad? Would you consider one a superior agency or?
The professional answer here is that you have to look at the different categories because intelligence has multiple categories. When it comes to size and scale of capability, CIA crushes Mossad. We have a much higher budget. We have a much wider international footprint in where we can operate, where we're prepared to operate, the network that we have in those different countries. Mossad is really only focused on a few countries and really primarily Iran and then proxies of Iran. So where the United States is the premier superpower, we have 160 countries that are all trying to take us down. Israel has one country that's trying to take it down, right? It's got a couple other threats that are coalition nations, but they're not trying to eradicate the country like Iran is trying to eradicate the country. So your budget gets spread pretty far and wide when 160 countries are vying for you versus when just one is. So when it comes to size and scope, CIA crushes Mossad. But when it comes to refined, sophisticated, high-risk operations, nobody touches Mossad. Because Mossad has no problem executing assassinations because the blowback for their concern, the blowback is worth it. Because the people they assassinate, by and large, are people who are actually posing a existential threat to the homeland. Again, not Charlie Kirk, not influencers. That's not who threatens Israel. Mm-hmm. Nuclear scientists in Iran are the threat to Israel. Generals for Hezbollah and Hamas, right? People who are sworn to destroy the entire independent nation of Israel. That's who they assassinate. So because they have to have a plan for that, they take risks that none of us in CIA would take. They'll send 10 people on a hit team and they'll assess that only 5 will come back and they'll still go. Where our Navy SEAL teams, if they assess that high of an attrition rate, they'll second guess their plan and go back to the drawing board and reinvent it all over again. So their risk tolerance is higher because their threat vector is so much higher. So, and those two just separate categories, you can see how different the two are. Israel's capability for sabotage, especially clandestine sabotage that would never be discovered, astronomically high. The United States, we spread our sabotage operations far and wide. It's very hard for us to sabotage a Russian factory and a Chinese factory and a North Korean factory using the same system. So we have to create 3 completely different systems. All 3 of them have the risk of being captured and caught. We have to worry about being penetrated by the Russians and the Chinese and the North Koreans, technologically and in terms of human inside sources. You can just see how the risk profile for the United States goes up significantly, where Israel can keep its operations secret from the United States. Israel's even recruited spies who are American military members without the United States realizing that those same military members are informing Israel. So you can really start to see that they're comparable on points, but not as an entire service.
So all the talk about Israel really controlling the United States, you wouldn't place much weight in that at all.
No, what we're seeing when we think that Israel has this grandiose control of the world, when we think that they're part of some deep state pulling the strings, right? What we're seeing there is that Netanyahu specifically, who is without a doubt an authoritarian leader, who has been in office more than a decade, like all the signs of the people that we generally say are bad leaders. Mm-hmm. We attack Xi Jinping, we attack Vladimir Putin, mm-hmm. right? And yet we're seeing it with Netanyahu, one of the closest allies to the United States. What we're seeing is that his authoritarian actions are influential and impactful because he knows how to play the geopolitical game. He understands the leverage that Israel has. He knows when to push a little bit further. He knows how to influence the president, not through secret documents that Epstein might have or might not have. He just understands what the president wants and how to get the president to agree to terms that Israel benefits from. And they've been doing this long before Donald Trump was in office. They've been doing this for as long as we've had a close relationship with Israel. Netanyahu, when he was prime minister, he was doing it. When he wasn't prime minister, he was doing it. Like, we've had this relationship with Israel for a long time. So much of the United States' success is tied to the Jewish diaspora. And even still, Americans can't tell the difference between a Jew and an Israeli. Mm-hmm. They're 2 different things. So we just end up completely missing the boat and landing on some stupid, oversimplified idea that, Israel must run the world. No. You just have a very sophisticated person who's in an authoritarian position who understands that we can't tell the difference between a citizen of his nation and a follower of the same faith.
No, it's funny because I have a very dear friend of
Beautifully said, I have to say.
mine, 30 some odd years, very dear friend. He's Israeli. And I said to him, why does it seem you don't like Netanyahu? And he said, I don't not like him, I hate him. And I said, why is that? And then prior to saying that, I said, I've never seen such anti-Semitism as we're seeing now And I think he relates, in the United States, he relates Netanyahu to the anti-Semitism here.
It doesn't matter what leader would be in power during the October 7th or before October 7th. Doesn't matter. The Jews would always get the shit. All the time. We're blamed for everything. We've been blamed for everything way before Netanyahu. We'll be blamed for everything way after Netanyahu. Just an excuse.
See that as a direct correlation?
Absolutely. What I see is that we are Americans who are not careful with their words, or who are not sophisticated enough in their own worldly knowledge, are not understanding that Jews are not the problem. The faith that a Jewish person follows is not the problem. It's the nation and the policy of Israel that is the problem. And the policymakers in Israel are just people, not necessarily people guided by faith. They're just people guided by their own self-interest.
I disagree with what he's saying, but let's see what else he's going to say, just so I can understand his train of thought.
And what they believe are in the best interests of their country. So what happens is these less knowledgeable or unsophisticated or uncareful people here in the United States, they start saying anti-Semitic things. They start acting in a way that's anti-Semitic, not understanding there's a difference between the Israeli government and the Jew, the Israeli citizen and the Jew. Jewish people are wonderful people. The Jewish faith is a wonderful faith. It's a community-oriented faith that builds groups up. It's not dangerous. It's not self-serving. It's not negative. And when we start to focus our anger on Jewish people, we're completely ignoring the fact that we are angry because of Israeli policies. Totally different things. But how do you get people, first of all, how do you get people to understand that? And then the biggest frustration, Michael, is that even our Congress doesn't understand the difference. So we've had members of the House who have put forward policies that basically make a criticism of Israel a sign of anti-Semitism. Now we're making it legislation that the two are the same thing. Now, thankfully, those bills weren't passed. Smarter people prevailed and said, hey, well, this is not the same thing. But geez, man, we have our own representatives that aren't smart enough to tell the difference between a faith set and a nationality?
I'll include the full podcast in the description below. I just have to say, it's got nothing to do with policy. It's got nothing to do with Israel. It's got to do with the Jews, right? They're, even the people who know the difference between the Jews and the Israeli Jews, it doesn't matter. Even when Israel was left-wing, people still hated it. When Israel was right-wing, people still hated it. People will keep hating Israel no matter what they do, no matter what peace offer they put on the table, no matter what solutions they bring. Doesn't matter. No matter what they bring to the world, people are going to overlook it and say, nah, it's Israel, it's filled with Jews, they're trying to control the world. We're always blamed for everything. I agree with this guy, though, about a lot of things, right? People have to distinguish the Israeli government and the Jews who live around the world and the Israeli civilians who live in Israel, and some of them live outside of Israel. You have to distinguish the two, but people don't make the difference. And that's why Jews get hurt in England, in France, in the United States, and in different parts of the world, because people can't distinguish pure anti-Semitism. I'll include the full podcast again in the link below. Thank you for spending some time with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. If you'd like to watch more of my stuff, please check out my channel down below. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification button so you can be notified every time I upload new content. If you'd like to support me and the channel financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee or Patreon down in the links below. Also, we now have a Discord that you can join down in the link below. And now you can become a YouTube member and enjoy specific YouTube perks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.